What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the sit down. As you can tell, sports edition, I should say.
Sports edition.
As you can tell, we got an extra guest here.
How's it going?
Introduce yourself.
I'm Billy, Colin's friend from up north, back in Pomfret, down visiting for the week. So he was gracious enough, and Andrew was gracious enough to let me on the show. So big thank you to them.
Gracious enough. No, we're happy to have
Pleasure.
you. Yeah, we're happy to have you. And this is another good football guy here. So I'm excited to kind of just dive in. We're gonna do our regular thing now. We got some other videos coming out during the week that we're gonna do some extra stuff, maybe a little superlative thing, and but let's dive right in. Let's get into it.
Let's dive in.
Let's dive in.
Let's start with the. You want to start with the Patriots?
Let's go for it.
Go ahead.
All right. So, Billy, what did you think about the Patriots?
I'm shocked. Hey, I'll take it though. I'm a Patriots fan, just like Colin. So I'll definitely take that big win, 45-0. Put the shutout on them. I saw a thing. Stephon Gilmore held Keenan Allen to 2 catches, the NFL's leading receiver for catches, held him to 2 catches, and they threw the ball 53 times. So
Yeah, I think the only time Gilmore really struggled this season that I can remember was against DK Metcalf when they versus Seahawks.
Yep.
He had a pretty hard game against him, but ever since then, Stephon Gilmore's been pretty locked down. The big thing that's crazy to me is you got Rookie of the Year nominee, most likely, Justin Herbert, putting a zero burger on a defense like the Patriots.
Yeah.
But we talked about it last week. Bill Belichick knows how to mess with the rookies.
And you can thank me for getting you that win.
I know. As soon as you said that, I was like, oh, yeah, there we go.
Oh yeah, and we Andrew and I both picked the Patriots, and Billy did as well. Billy wasn't in the pick last week, but
but I picked the Patriots.
I'll tell you the
Patriots.
one thing about the Patriots that I think I really liked, what I saw from them was there was nothing really offensively or defensively that really stuck out to me that much. I think it was the special teams.
True.
If you look at it, the special teams scored 21 points. That's a lot of points. I mean, if you look at it, they scored almost half their points on special teams alone.
Sure.
And you look at Cam Newton. He had 69 passing yards for the whole game.
Right.
And they still put up 45 points. That's ridiculous. And now I don't know if that speaks poorly on the Chargers defense,
Which is also bad.
which is terrible. Or, does it speak on the fact that maybe the Patriots are starting to figure out some sort of system in terms of smash mouth football, run the football, right? And if you can win the battle in other areas and just hold on at defensively, not let them score a lot of points, you might have a chance.
I think the thing about this Patriots team is they're a win-at-all-costs team.
Yes.
And they're not going to go out and they're going to change it up every single week. You're never going to see the same look from them twice.
Yep.
It's always going to be something different from them, and they'll win one week with their defense. Maybe they'll come out on offense and shock someone. Their special teams got to step up. It's whatever they can do to win, they're going to do their best to win.
Yeah, they're one of those teams that I think they've realized at this point in the season, talent, pretty much not there. Like, you have a few pieces here and there that are really good, like Stephon Gilmore and Cam Newton who can lead an offense.
Right.
But other than that, you really don't have that many talent-driven pieces there. So coaching really has to take over here,
Definitely.
where they need to perform in every phase of the game, where they're going to have to win games where Cam Newton only passes for 69 yards.
Yep. And I think, the Patriots are probably one of the only teams in the NFL that can actually get away with that system, with that formula of winning. I mean, they've been doing it for almost 20 years now. Granted, you have one of the better quarterbacks that's ever lived. I would say the best quarterback that's ever lived, so that always helps. But you look at, what's been in the grocery, in the shopping cart in terms of groceries over those past 20 years, you could name the big name talent on 2 hands and 2 feet over 20 years. That you don't get that many other teams.
Sure.
And
so
I think the other side of the coin here, the Chargers, they're struggling. It's not looking great for them.
They're offensively, I mean, they have to be more. You have to put up some points, right?
Yeah.
You gotta score. If you're in the NFL, you gotta score.
Right, exactly. I don't care really what they're throwing at you. You have a talent like Justin Herbert, who even when he loses, he looks good, which is just crazy to me. But you have too much talent on that offense to put up 0, and you really do have a decent amount of talent on that defense to be giving up 45 points. I mean, granted, you said 21 was on special teams, so that's a big chunk of change. But still, you get 24 points on the board defensively.
Right.
This team has a lot to go. Next year might look a lot better. Hopefully they can finish off strong, carry some momentum to the next season. But season's pretty shot for them.
Yeah, I think they're just about done. In terms of their aspirations to do anything significant outside of just finishing the season.
And this did officially eliminate them from the playoffs. So.
Yep.
Let's hop over to Browns Titans. This one
Holy
was
smokes.
nuts. You and I both picked the Titans.
Yep.
The Browns, I want to probably, I don't know, this probably isn't true, but for the first time in the foreseeable memory, they were up over 30 points at the half.
Yeah.
That was nuts. I mean,
I've never seen that for the Browns ever.
And it was strange because they ended up only winning 41-35. I don't fault them for it though, because to a point, they've never been there before.
Right? Sure.
So, and to beat this was essentially an early playoff game.
Yeah.
Which
I agree.
The Browns and Baker Mayfield, to his credit, showed up and played extremely well.
I think, especially in that second half, I think they took their foot off the gas a little bit too, so that could probably help with some of the comeback there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, offensively in the first half, just firing on all cylinders.
4 touchdown passes.
That's and the Titans' defense is usually no slouch either. You know, Mike Vrabel's a pretty good defensive coach.
Right.
So just for them to be able to do that, I think that showed the talent that this Browns team has.
Yes.
And I think like they can come out and do this. And again, it all depends on what you said, Baker Mayfield. He came out and shined like a star that day. But like, can he do that every week? That's the thing with him.
Right.
It's like, which Baker Mayfield are you gonna get? I feel like that's how the Browns are gonna go.
Right, because you see games like this one, and also reminiscent when they versus the Colts, both playoff teams, playoff caliber football teams.
Yep.
And they ended up coming up with the win. For this game, most of it was, I mean, the first half was just all 3 phases of football were just amazing. Defense was great. Offense was great. Special teams did good enough, obviously. They didn't do anything stupid, which is usually what you see from special teams.
Yep.
In the second half, offense didn't really move the ball that much. Defense gave up a few things here and there. But to a point, when you're coaching a game like this, when you're up that much at half, the game is really don't lose.
Yeah.
And they didn't make any mistakes offensively. Baker finished the game with no picks.
Yep.
And defensively, they stopped them just enough. So what more can you really ask for?
Yeah, I would say this. I think the one thing that really kind of stuck out to me, which is interesting, because we all know this, the recipe to stop the Titans is you stop the run.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's what was good about the Browns. The Browns said, hey, Ryan Tannehill, beat us if you can. But Derrick Henry, you're not going to beat us today. And, you saw that in the stats. Derrick Henry, 15 attempts for 60 yards. He averaged 4 yards a carry. You compare that to last week against the Colts, where he ran wild, right? I think that was really the recipe. Because you look at Ryan Tannehill, he went 29 for 45, 389 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an INT. That's a good day.
Which for him is that's
as
good as he's gonna get.
Exactly right, and that's the thing, right? And that's why if you're a Titans fan, you should be worried, right? Because a very inconsistent Cleveland team was able to stop your strength. And you had a quarterback that really isn't that good play out of his mind, and you still didn't win.
Yep.
That would make me concerned if I'm a Titans fan.
And I think the thing with the Titans is, like you mentioned Derrick Henry's stat line, 4 yards a carry. That's not bad.
Right.
For most running backs.
Yeah.
But for when your running back is 80% of your offense,
exactly.
when you run the ball consistently every single down, and you're banking on that 5.5 yards a carry. 4 yards a carry is a big hit.
Yep.
So now those third downs, right, where it's 3rd and 4, and you're thinking, well, do we run the ball? Do we pass the ball? And then you end up passing it, then it's an incomplete pass, and then all of a sudden you're punting the ball.
Yep.
Stat line still looks good, but you're punting the ball when you're halfway down the field. So Titans need to be a little more consistent on the defensive side of the ball. Like you said, they're usually not a slouch. But they need to be more consistent on that side of the ball. And they need to be more well-rounded on offense. We love the ground and pound. We talk about it every week, where when you run the ball consistently well, your team is going to do well. But when running the ball is all you have, and then it gets turned into just an average running game, then you just look like an average football.
Right. And I think one other thing that sticks out for me is that TOP, right? Time of possession.
Sure.
Right. Cleveland had the ball for 36 minutes and 46 seconds compared to Tennessee's 23 minutes and 14 seconds. That's a big
like
discrepancy.
3 whole drives.
Yes. That's a big one. And I mean, if you look at the final score, if Tennessee had 3 more attempts to score the football, they might have been a different outcome. And I think that's another thing, like what you had said, Andrew. If you can't run the ball, you start to lose that time of possession battle. And the more times you have the ball in your hands, the more likely you are to score. You know, it's a game of probability. So I think that's the thing with Tennessee. You need to be a little bit worried there because you've seen it many, many times. Every time Tennessee's lost, what was the catalyst? It wasn't the defense. It wasn't quarterback play. Stop the run. If you can stop the run, you can beat the Titans. It's not a secret anymore.
And I would venture to say, if the Titans are the best running team in football, the Browns are a very close second.
I would agree. Absolutely. Nick Chubb is a monster.
That helps with that time of possession battle where,
exactly
you know,
right.
when it's that tail end of the game, when you're up over 30 points, you can just pound the ball, take up clock up time. That's just as good as playing a good defense.
Yeah, exactly. Agreed.
Let's hop over to Raiders-Jets. So for this one, I was sitting on the couch with my wife, and she's even looking at the game. She goes, "Oh my God, the Jets finally won!" And I was like, "Hold on a second." And I was watching, and the Raiders got the ball, and I said, "If the Jets lose, this will be the most Jets thing the Jets have ever jetted."
Oh yeah.
And then Henry Ruggs came flying down the field, and everyone wants to call it a Hail Mary, right? It wasn't a Hail Mary.
It wasn't.
Dude got burned.
All right. So I think it was on purpose. I really do. I swear to God. Because
right?
there's some things.
7 on that.
There's some things. Yes. So I saved this because it was just like it just stuck out to me. The Jets sent the house, so they sent 7 pass rushers on the game-winning touchdown. Like it's a Hail Mary situation. Only a touchdown hurts it. That's all they need.
Right.
So since 2006, they're the only team who sent 6+ pass rushers that met all 3 qualifiers for a scored lead and distance to go. So final 15 seconds of regulation between a 4 and 8 point lead and 40+ yards to the end zone. There have been 251 plays like that since 2006. They're the only team to send 6+ rushers in that situation. And if you look at that guy trying to cover Henry Ruggs going down the field, he's jogging. He's not even trying to cover him. I swear to God, I think they're in full tank mode.
Oh.
They didn't want to win.
Yeah.
And especially, you know, the Jaguars didn't win either, so they had to stay behind.
The only reason I might kibosh that conspiracy is that the very next day, the coordinator gets fired.
Yeah.
Jets don't fire the head coach. Their coaches.
No, they don't fire coaches in the season.
So
they don't do that. That's not what
there was maybe he thought he was doing the Jets a favor and said, "All right, guys, we're just gonna rush 7."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, watch this, Adam. We're gonna tank this. We're gonna get you Trevor next year. Hopefully you're still here." All of a sudden, they're like, "Dude, we didn't want you to do that." And they're like, he's like, I thought I was helping. You're fired. Get out. So I don't know.
Man, I don't know. I think he was probably gone at the end of the year. I think they're gonna clean house with the coaching staff. So maybe that was their cover. Going again, full tinfoil
got
hat
some
here.
compensation package.
Full tinfoil hat here. They're like, look, man, we gotta let you go so it doesn't look that bad, but wink, wink, nudge, nudge, you know.
Outside of that, Raiders look awful.
Yeah, they look bad.
They're struggling.
What's going on with them?
They're struggling.
I don't care if they're 7-5. They're gonna finish 8-8.
I would agree.
They're gonna do the same thing they did last year.
Yep.
If not 7-9. They're not playing good football.
No.
In really any phase of the game, especially on defense. Their defense is abysmal. It looks really bad. For a second, I was like, okay. A few weeks ago, they versed like some really bad team, like offensively bad team. Like, it was like 32nd on offense, but they were 32nd on defense. And I was like, oh, maybe the Raiders aren't that bad on defense. They'll show up today. They'll show that, you know, they're versing a bad offense. They can show up and play. They played awful.
Yeah.
And then they played the Jets, who are like the 33rd worst offense in the league. And they look awful.
Yeah.
They look terrible.
It takes
How do you let that happen?
It takes talent to make the Jets look good. It takes talent to do that. And I would say this, if I'm a Raiders fan, I'm very concerned because this is looking a lot like it looked last year, like you had said, Andrew. And last year did not end the way you wanted it to. You ended 500 on the whole year, which is not going to get you anywhere.
Right.
And I would say for the Jets,
And it was the same collapse at the end of the
Exactly.
year.
Yeah.
Exactly. They started
at the
that same record.
point, yep,
Same point.
same point, everything. And I would say for the Jets, I think they're too inept to actually throw a football game. I don't think they have that in them to do that. So I don't know if
they're not even good.
I don't know if they necessarily threw it, but you know, Greg Williams, is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's an aggressive defensive
He's very aggressive. And what was really shocking to me,
that's kind of what I meant.
Yeah, and if I'm correct, I'm pretty sure they had a spy on Derek Carr as well there.
Yeah,
so they were
Derek Carr's that guy.
They were all zeros. So it was man coverage on every receiver with a spy in 7 rushes.
Just in case Derek Carr takes off for 45 yards.
6-year-olds who play Madden are like, all right, let's do the cover 3 man, send him back.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should have definitely hit the Ask Madden on that play.
Yeah. It was bizarre. It was bizarre.
So
I think if you're the Raiders, you're in trouble, and if you're the Jets,
you're in a good
Raiders
you're in a good spot.
Yeah, you're doing what you want to do at this point. Just keep it going.
Raiders too. If this happens 2 years in a row where they just collapse down the end, you got to start looking at John Gruden too.
Yeah,
I said that
agree.
last week. He's like, John Gruden is like, he'll always look good in the beginning of the season, right? He's fire, he's got going. Let's get it moving. Even this season, we were like, okay, maybe the Raiders look good because of COVID,
right?
And all that kind of stuff. Because good leadership helps when in those times of need.
Absolutely.
But at this point, like, you're right.
Starting to ask questions.
You gotta be concerned about it. It's like the Falcons, but of full seasons. They blew first half lead. Let's hop over to Jaguars Vikings. This one was a little too tight, but it's been clear that Mike Glennon is actually playing well for Jacksonville.
That's true.
Yeah.
You got to give it to him.
They have some talent on that offense. They have DJ Chark, who's a great young wide receiver. James Robinson, I believe, is their rookie running back that has been pretty on fire this season, doing really, really well. But the Vikings did enough to win. The Jaguars kind of put the kibosh on Dalvin Cook, though, which kind of surprised me.
Yeah. And, I'll say this. I think the team that was supposed to win won. I thought we both picked the Vikings, and the Vikings won. But I would say the things that really kind of surprised me. If you look at total stats, Minnesota beat Jacksonville in every positive statistic.
Sure.
Outside of yards per play, right? They got 2 interceptions and 2 fumbles from Jacksonville. They completed 43% of their third downs. They won the time of possession battle by about 7 minutes, and they only had 6 penalties, and they were only able to win by 3 in overtime. If you're a Vikings fan, that has to make you nervous.
So the way I see the play calling, though, I mean, they passed the ball 43. The Vikings had a lot of plays.
Yeah.
A lot of plays. They ran the ball 32 times. That's a lot.
It was an overtime game too, so
that's
there's a little
true.
bit.
It was a long overtime game too,
Yeah.
and a lot of that overtime is where I think you get those pass attempts. Where, Kirk Cousins. We talk about it all the time. Kirk Cousins doesn't do well in those situations, but when you're running the ball that much, your game plan is pretty clear. Where we're gonna win this game. It might be a little tight, but we're gonna try and win. That way, and the Vikings have been doing that pretty consistently, I think.
I think if you're a team that likes to run the ball the way the Vikings do, the Titans do, the Browns do, the Patriots do, you're gonna win close games. You're not gonna. The 45-0s of the Patriots aren't your everyday game. Like you're winning close games that way. So maybe you shouldn't win close games against the Jaguars per se, but
right. Yeah, of course you don't like to see it. And Dalvin Cook rushed 3.8 yards a carry, but still mustered 120 yards rushing. So that just tells you that kind of workload that he's getting.
He had 32 touches. That's a lot of touches.
And 3.8 yards a carry is not good for him. That's actually, I would say that's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's below average
on his part. He didn't get any touchdowns. They kept him out of the end zone. So the Jaguars kind of knew what their game plan was going into this game.
Yeah.
Making sure Dalvin Cook didn't get going too much.
They
did a pretty good job with it.
I would say this, if you're playing against the Vikings, you have to keep eyes on Justin Jefferson.
He's a monster.
He is a monster.
He's the he's the fastest rookie receiver to get to 1,000 yards, alongside I think it was Randy Moss, Marquise Colston, and
was Julio in there?
A few other guys. No, Julio wasn't in there. I can't remember who else was in there, but there was some stat I saw on Instagram.
Yeah, he went
where he's in good company.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very. He had 9 receptions, 121 yards, 1 TD on 12 total targets. That's a damn good day there.
Yep.
He's definitely a solid replacement in that offense for Stephon Diggs.
Yeah. And I would say,
I'm happy about it.
I would say Justin Jefferson adds an element that Stephon Diggs didn't, which is that significant deep ball threat. If you look at it, Thielen has really taken a step back in terms of the deep ball presence. He's more of your let's chip it away, let's grind down the field, right?
Julian Edelman type guy.
And Justin Jefferson is that big play guy, right? When you look in that overtime game, who was the big play threat? Justin Jefferson every time.
And that's what makes me mad about this team too, because if they had Kirk Cousins just isn't the quarterback of the future. I think if they had a better quarterback with those weapons, I mean, you got your deep ball guy, you got your possession receiver, you got your dominant run game. Like, that should be an offense to be feared in the NFL, and it's just not.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins has, and that's why they've been winning. Because of Dalvin Cook's kind of resurgence this season.
Sure.
Where he was out for a lot of the time in the early goings of the season. This team started, 0-5? And now they're 6-6.
Yeah.
So if they had started a little quicker with Dalvin Cook, this is one of those, you're looking 4th or 5th best teams in the league at this point, but they are still 6-6 right now.
Yeah, I mean, they won 6 of the last 7 games. That's pretty impressive.
If they can keep the consistency going, I think this is a team similar to another team we'll talk about later that is having a late season resurgence that is going to surprise people in the playoffs, I think.
Yeah, it's I'll say this, the thing that makes me question a little bit the Vikings is that, usually, if a team wins 6 out of 7 games, you're like, hey, watch out for them. I don't know about the Vikings, they don't scare me. The Vikings don't scare me.
I think it's because their games are closer. Like Billy was saying, they're anchored on that run game, so they're going to win closer games. And those close games end up being with teams that you think, well, that shouldn't be that close.
Right. Yep. Okay. Yeah.
So
let's go. Dolphins, Cincinnati.
Dolphins, Bengals. Yeah. Not much to say about this game.
No,
really not.
Dolphins won this game the way they were supposed to.
We both picked the Dolphins.
Yes. Tua is not super impressive.
I told you, slow down. Everybody was freaking out. He had one game.
Still hasn't thrown an interception yet, so we know he's accurate. But he's not. The Dolphins need. If you put Tua on the Vikings, oh my God, that's scary. But this team's talent necessarily, they don't have a top flight running back. They really don't have a top flight wide receiver. I think they have Devontae Parker still.
Yeah. Yes. He actually got kicked out of the game for fighting, so he's going to be out.
So there's that. The defense is playing really well under Brian Flores, so I think that's where this team's anchor really is that defense. Absolutely. And when you have that defense where they can control that line of scrimmage against a team with probably one of the worst offensive lines in the league in the Bengals, you're going to get wins where the other team only scores 7 points, which is, I don't care who's at quarterback, that's awesome. That's really good on the defensive side of the ball. And Tua did enough, but
that's the type of team they are. Their offense has to do enough, defense win us the game.
They're like the Vikings of the AFC.
In a way.
Yeah, I would honestly say I like the Dolphins more than I like the Vikings, though. Just because if you look at the way they win, and you look at their total body of work thus far, they've given me more reason to believe in them than I would believe in the Vikings.
Interesting.
It's anything that goes 0-5 to start, that makes you question things. And regardless of the situation, it's the same exact team then and now. With the Dolphins, similar to the Giants, they've been getting better every single week.
True.
And you're seeing that. I think my only thing, I'll leave this with Tua. I think you just got to give him more time, be patient with it. It's his first season. It's his first season. He's in. I'll say this too, for everybody who's jumping on that Tua bandwagon, relax, calm down. He's literally had 3 or 4 games in the NFL, and he hasn't been in any situations yet where it's really been crunch time. The only time he had that opportunity, what happened? He got pulled out of the game. He got benched.
I'm not a fan of playing rookie quarterbacks in their first year anyway. So when they made that switch, I was optimistic that he would do okay, but I was very cautious with it. I was like, we'll see what happens. He's good enough where he won't lose you a game right now, I think.
I'm a firm believer in seeing where someone comes from in the college circuit and projecting how they do after that. USC quarterbacks are always bad.
Yep, it's true.
And Alabama quarterbacks always start slow.
Yeah.
A.J. McCarron, I think if you would have done something similar to what they're doing with Tua, putting good pieces around him and getting him in a right position, I think A.J. McCarron could have been a solid quarterback starting option.
When you finish, I'll say something a little off.
Tua, I think is very similar, where it's Alabama quarterbacks are not a part of an offensive scheme, more so recently, but not a part of an offensive scheme that really transitions well to the NFL. They are very, very reliant on their super talent, where they're just so much better than everyone else. The quarterback doesn't have to do much.
Yeah.
So now Tua kind of has to get back into that mode, and it's clear he's playing very safe. Again, hasn't thrown any interceptions. So I think when he gets that time to be more comfortable and be more loose, he'll throw a pick or two, but he'll also throw like 3 or 4 more touchdowns.
And that's what you do in Alabama too.
Yeah.
Be safe. Don't turn the ball over.
Get the ball to the running back and play.
We'll win.
Yeah, exactly.
And I would even go as far as to say this: Alabama doesn't produce quarterbacks.
Exactly. Yep, I agree.
They don't.
I agree.
That's not a
They
quarterback.
produce everything
It's not.
else.
Yeah,
but not quarterbacks.
every other position outside of quarterback. Why? For the reasons you just said. They're so hyper talented in every other facet of the game.
Right.
They don't need a good quarterback.
And that's why, and I don't want to get too much
we'll
into
see.
college football, but like that's why Alabama's so successful, because they don't rely on getting a 5-star quarterback.
Yeah.
They'll say, oh, we'll take a 2 or 3 star and then we'll go with it. Not a big deal.
So we'll see. We'll see if Tua can kind of break that misconception, or maybe not a misconception about Alabama quarterbacks.
Still though, never take a USC quarterback.
Never.
As soon as someone took the Jets took Sam Darnold, I was like, all right, bust. The USC quarterback.
Yeah.
Like that. All right, let's hop over to Colts Texans. I was so close. They were on the goal line and fumbled the snap. They were so close. I picked the Texans. Colin picked the Colts. So close. J.J. Watt's face is all I need to say about this game. He was just like.
Just so bummed out. You see Deshaun Watson, he was crying on the sideline. I felt bad. I felt bad.
But at the end of the day, you can't. This is the NFL, brother. You can't
make mistakes
make mistakes like that, especially against a division rival, fourth quarter, goal line,
and you're
down by 6.
kind of riding hot right now too.
You're riding hot, exactly, and then everything, your momentum stops on a dime because you missed a handoff.
Yeah.
I'll say this: if you're Deshaun Watson, you have to ask yourself, what am I doing to protect the football, right? Because he accounted for three turnovers. 2 of them were fumbles. He got one. He lost one. But to me, a fumble on the ground is a turnover, even if you get it back. It's not a good thing.
It's momentum.
Exactly right. So the fact that he attributed for 2 actual turnovers and 1 potential turnover, that's not a good recipe to win. And if you're really the staple of the offense, which he absolutely is, you have to be prime time all the time. You can't have games like that. Because I'll say this: if you didn't have an interception in a fumble, they win this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Houston Texans win this football game. And I think if you're an Indianapolis Colts fan, you have to sit there and say, maybe those playoff aspirations that we might have had, I think we should probably turn those down a little bit, because the Colts are not who people think they are. Let's just be real. The Colts they're just not it.
Yeah.
They just aren't it, because they lose bad football games and they barely win games they should win by a lot.
This isn't one of those. Sorry, I'll let you go. This isn't one of those situations where it was a tight game. They played a tight game. They should have lost this game.
Yeah.
So the Colts are in this situation where if they do make the playoffs, most likely one and done.
They're getting bounced. Yep.
I think the Colts are the epitome of average NFL football team.
Phillip Rivers at quarterback.
Average NFL quarterback play. Average receivers. Average running backs. Defenses should be a little bit above average, but they kind of play average sometimes.
Yep.
It's like they're very average.
Yep.
They're gonna win games. They're gonna lose games, and it's kind of like we'll see who shows up.
This is a team that next year, I think, watch out, because they have a lot of good young talent.
They do.
They have good young running back. They need to solidify a receiver more.
And
and obviously quarterback, right? If they can secure I don't think they'll bring Phillip Rivers back. But if they do, I hope it's in a mentor role. If they can grab some second, third round quarterback after they hopefully take a receiver first round, this team could be really good because they have Nyheim Hines is really good. That offensive line is really good. The defense, again, like you said, Billy, should be really good. And sometimes they're just not, which is also strange to be able to look at defensive coordinator at that point.
Yeah.
This could be a good football team, but it's just not for
I
some
would argue.
reason.
I would argue should be a good football.
Right.
Team. Not even could. Should be a good football
Right.
team, and they're just I feel like
Just very meh.
and they're 8-4. They're not bad.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
just
They're winning 2 out of every.
they just scream
3
average to me.
And that's the thing, when you're 8-4 and you feel the way that we feel about a team, that's usually not a good thing.
No.
That's usually not a good thing. And yeah, like you had said, Andrew, they might make the playoffs, but they're getting bounced first round. They're not going deep in the playoffs. There's no way. That AFC is too loaded, and they're just not good enough.
Yeah.
They're just not good enough. And you can't. I think the thing with the Colts is they lack dependability. Right? You can't. There's not one particular player you can say, I'm dependent. I need you today.
Correct.
They don't have anybody on the offense that you can say, hey, I need you to step up today. They need the whole team to step up. Everybody at every position. And that's hard to do in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the teams that are really good. You might have one of your studs that doesn't play well, but you got another one that say, hey, I'll carry the load today, right?
Yep.
And that's why you see teams like Kansas City, right? The Bucs should be that. You look at the Saints, right? They're that,
Yep.
right? Where they have multiple different ways to attack you. Hey, that way doesn't work. We got 4 more for you. So,
Yep.
good luck.
Exactly.
And the Colts just don't have that. They do not have that. So,
Well, the Colts could be the Bears, who have lost. I think they're the opposite of the Vikings. They've lost 6 of their last 7. I think.
no, they lost 7 in a row.
They lost 7 in a row.
They went 5-0, and now they're 5-7.
They were 5-1.
Well, it would still be 7 in a row because they won 5 straight games. They were 5-0.
They were 5-0.
They were 5-0. Yeah.
And they're bad.
They're bad.
I think we actually both picked the Lions.
Yeah, I picked the Lions. I don't know if you did, but I definitely did. Yeah, so we both picked the Lions.
The Bears.
Go Lions! Come on, baby.
The Bears are train wreck.
Yeah, they're.
I just when you watch them play, it's like it hurts. it like hurts to watch. At least like the Jets, you're like, all right, I know they're about to throw a quick out right now. It's probably gonna be incomplete. But the Bears are like, we want to win so bad, and they can't.
Yeah.
It's not. They can't.
Mm-mm.
Something about they got like some kind of curse or mojo issue or something like that.
And that's the thing. Their team isn't bad. It's not bad. They have
No, it's not
a
a bad
good
roster
defense.
at all, right?
They have good receivers. They have okay running backs. I mean, quarterback is an issue, but they're not a bad football team.
No.
There's just something fundamentally wrong there, where it's like, what is happening?
You gotta start
Figure
asking
it out.
yourself, is it coaching, right? Is it something in the locker room, right? Because you've seen this many times in the NFL where, when offense stinks, right, and the defense just says, "Yeah, I'm good. We're done. We're done. We're not gonna come out here and risk it." And I would say last week you saw that a lot out of the Bears. That defense just said, "Yeah, we're good. We don't want to play this week," and they just do whatever you want. Don't really care. And I think what was kind of interesting in that fourth quarter, you started to see some very interesting things out of that Chicago defense, because that defense should be the thing that wins them football games. They have a good defense, right? And it just seemed like that pass rush was getting a little bit slower, right? It just seemed like that secondary just wasn't quite able to lock down like they were, right? And they weren't able to lock down the whole game. They were letting everybody do whatever, especially in the middle. They are so squishy in the middle. Oh my, they are. They're so soft in the middle of the field. But I don't know. It just feels like that defense is like, I just don't want to be here right now.
And I think a lot of this comes around to when you're playing merry-go-round at quarterback.
It's discouraging.
It's not, and right, it's not only discouraging to an offense, but it's discouraging to the whole team,
Yeah.
right? Every aspect of your team is revolved around leadership. Matt Nagy, sure, he's fine as a head coach, I think. You think he's okay?
I don't think he's safe.
I don't think he's safe. He'll find a job somewhere else, maybe he's an OC, and then come back as a head coach at some point. But when you have no leadership at quarterback, who's supposed to be, that's your general, right?
Yeah.
That's your guy you ride into battle.
That's an extension of a head coach on the field.
Exactly. Your head coach, I like to think he's your colonel. He's sitting in some office somewhere. He's telling you what to do. But then your quarterback is in there. He's in the trenches with everybody, trying to get everyone rallied around to do something. You got a guy like Mitchell Trubisky, you can't hit an open receiver, and a guy like Nick Foles, who is a glorified backup.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's true.
Your team falls apart. Jumping over to the Lions, we talked about it last week. You fire your head coach, you win the next game.
Yep.
Something about it. I don't know
Every
if it's,
time.
I don't know if it's because your team gets some kind of jolt, kick in the butt, like, or if your head coach was really that bad, now they don't have to listen to this dumb loser tell us what to do on every play, so we can just do whatever we want.
Probably a combination of
it's
all.
I think it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
You know, a scheme that maybe a team might not be prepared for because you got film on them up to this point, but then you get a whole brand new system in.
Yep.
Maybe obviously you're not changing the whole offense in a week,
obviously.
but a couple of wrinkles here and there that you didn't expect. Again, your team maybe just like fired up, like, hey, we got nothing to lose now. Might as well go out there and have some fun.
Yeah.
Right.
It is interesting though how like that always seems to happen. Coach is gone, next game, guaranteed win.
And that was literally why I picked Detroit. I swear to you, strictly only for that reason. Oh, they fired their head coach. I'm going to Detroit. I don't know why. I don't know why that is. I would go along with you, Billy. I would say, I think, maybe Matt Patricia maybe he just lost it. Maybe he was just trying to push a scheme or push some form of play style that just didn't blend with the pieces he had there. And I think there's a benefit to having a head coach being fired and somebody stepping in, because they're not trying to change the world. Hey, y'all go do what you do. Play your style of football. Play your brand of football, and we can live with the outcome. Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of teams, when they fire their head coach, they start to succeed, because they know that. I've had this before. I'm sure Billy, Andrew, you have as well. When you're playing for a coach that just doesn't know what the hell they're doing, and they're making you play a certain way, and you hate every second of it. And then finally you're able to just play your brand of football, and everything changes.
Yeah.
Everything changes, and I think that was probably what had happened.
And this goes for just real world. You're working an office job, or you're working for anybody. If someone is afraid they're going to lose their job, they typically act kind of erratic, or like stringent, or overly aggressive towards the people around them. Right, hypermanaged. Right, exactly. And as soon as they're gone, you're like, oh wow, there's really no pressure anymore. Like, let's just play football, like you said. And the Lions did that.
Yeah, yes they did.
Neither one of these teams looks very good, really. I'll always take Matt Stafford over anyone else, though. In terms of that lower area.
Sure, agreed. I think Matthew Stafford just needs to go to a team that can use him the right way.
Yeah, I don't know.
He still has a ton of arm talent. He's just in a bad place.
I don't know if they'll keep him around next year.
Good, bring him to the Patriots.
And that's what I'm
dead serious.
Not because Stafford's the. I won't dwell on this too much, but not because Stafford's the issue, but because when you have someone there for over 10 years,
you got to clean house at some point.
You got to clean house at some point, right? You need some kind of change pace, similar to what we're talking about with head coach.
Definitely.
Let's hop over to Saints Falcons. Saints
not
got
much
the
to
win.
say here.
No, not much to say.
This is a pretty quiet game.
And I talked about it last week. This is a divisional game, so it's going to be closer than people think it will be. But the Saints pulled it out the way they were supposed to. Taysom Hill is not going to put up crazy amounts of points. He's not going to put up crazy numbers. He's not going to lead his team to 30-point wins or anything like that, unless you're going up against the Broncos when they have no quarterback. And the Saints were the first team to clinch a playoff berth this season.
And hey, they get it. They're getting it done without Drew Brees. And that's all you can ask for from Taysom Hill. And he's getting it done. He's doing better than I thought he would. That's for sure.
And that's how you build a team, right?
Yep.
Last year they did the same thing. 4 games without Drew Brees. Teddy Bridgewater started, won all 4 of them.
Yep.
The team started 2-2 initially, and then they won 4 straight. And now I'm curious to see what happens when Drew Brees gets back.
I would say this. One thing that stuck out to me with this game is the penalties.
Okay.
Penalties, and if this game was closer before that kind of that garbage time touchdown to the Falcons, that could have lost New Orleans that game. If you look at it, New Orleans had 10 penalties to Atlanta's 1. That's a very lopsided battle there, and you do that in the playoffs, that could very well sink your ship.
Oh, absolutely.
That could very well sink your ship, and since we're talking about them clinching a playoff spot, you have to start looking at the nitty gritty stuff like that, and that's important.
Yep.
Winning the penalty battle is very important. Time of possession, penalties, turnover battle. If you can win those 3 things, you usually got a good chance.
Yeah.
And you can't win 2 out of the 3. Usually you have to get all of them.
And the fight for this team is not over yet.
Nope.
A team with this much experience and this much talent on their roster needs that bye week.
Yes.
You need to, especially in a season like this,
Yep.
you need to secure that. One team gets a bye week this year. They need to secure that bye week again so Drew Brees can stay healthy, because those ribs are going to bother him.
He needs to stay out to the playoffs. He needs to stay out to the playoffs.
I think he should. Until they start showing signs that they might be slipping, he does need to stay out.
Yeah. For his health more than anything.
Absolutely. And that was one thing I said a few weeks ago when Drew Brees initially got hurt was, I'm surprised he's not just calling it.
Yeah.
Like, he's so old.
It's like, dude, you're old, you have kids, and like,
just chill.
you literally, like, you punctured a lung.
You've proven.
So you're down to one lung.
Right.
And there's a global pandemic that affects your lungs. Like, and if you're gonna go hang around with your football team, like, maybe just take it easy, man.
It's a scary situation.
Just take it
easy. Yeah, and like you had said, Billy, it's health. You know, it's not about winning games. It's about what is your health, right? Because football comes and goes, but you get one body. You know, so you got to take care of it. And I'm assuming he's probably having tough conversations about that even now.
Yeah.
You know, what am I willing to risk? You know, because you have kids at home, a lot of them at that. So. You know, you
not quite Philip Rivers, but
that dude has a factory, bro.
According to reports, Drew Brees is looking at coming back sometime within the next 2 weeks.
That's what I've been hearing. Yep.
So, we'll see how that goes. Let's hop over to Giants Seahawks.
Ooh, I was mad watching this one.
Every week, the Giants are getting better and better and better.
Yep.
Even with Colt McCoy.
Colt McCoy throwing 105 yards. Still got it done.
That defense exposed, just as we were talking about last week, where the Seahawks finally figured out their big weakness, their defense. Their defense finally showed up. Their defense is playing really well. They're getting a lot of pressure. Oh no, what's this other weakness for the Seahawks? Oh, they don't have an offensive line? Oh no, their offensive line is gone. They gave up 5 sacks against the Giants.
The Giants absolutely bullied the Seahawks in this game.
You can't win a game if the matchup was too perfect. Where the Giants' strength is their offensive line, and clearly the Seahawks' weakness is their offense. I'm sorry, the Giants' strength is their defensive line. The Seahawks' weakness is obviously their offensive line. 5 sacks on Russell Wilson, almost every single play pressured. You can't succeed in that kind of environment.
Nope.
And any team that gets their offensive line completely blown to shreds like that is going to lose.
Russell Wilson had happy feet all game.
Exactly.
Yeah, he had happy feet all game.
He did not want to be in that pocket.
No, he did not.
He's running around. He's running for his life. You know that leads to throws off balance, throws off the wrong foot, and you saw it. He wasn't making good throws.
No, he wasn't.
It's uncharacteristic to him. He's throwing deep balls that are just too far, too short, off target.
Yeah.
Things that normally you would expect Russell Wilson to be like, absolutely, this is what completion, touchdown.
Right.
Didn't happen because again, happy feet. It happens.
And you look at the best of the best quarterbacks, right? Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. These are all guys who, if their offensive line folds, good luck getting anything done.
With any quarterback.
Exactly.
Right,
with any quarterback.
I think the only quarterback I could say you could probably put around a rough shot offensive line and still succeed is Patrick Mahomes. Like, he's one of those guys who
even him though, because you would say Russell Wilson too, because he's the type of guy who can run around and create things. But I'm telling you, from someone who played quarterback, when you have happy feet and like you're so concerned that I'm about to get killed the second I touch this football, you're like your head just gets messed with. You can't focus on what's downfield. It becomes so much more difficult to complete those passes.
I am surprised the Seahawks didn't run the ball more than they did.
I agree.
They only ran the ball 22 times. 7 of those were by Russell Wilson, so they ran the ball 15 times.
And I wouldn't even count those as runs. Those are running for your life.
Exactly. But on the opposite side of the ball, Wayne Gallman called him out last week, calling him out again this week. 16 rushes, 135 yards. That's 8.4 yards a carry.
That's ridiculous.
That's madness.
That's almost a first down, a touch.
Yep.
Hey, go get us a first down.
The Giants can they're now 5-7 in a division that we thought we would be surprised if someone went 5-10. I'm sorry, 5-11. And now they're starting to come up, and we got another team in their division we're going to talk about later. This is going to be a fight.
Not the fight that we thought we would get.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
The Giants are starting to excite me.
Yeah, me as well.
This is starting to get fun to watch at this point. This was smash mouth football.
And that was exactly what I was gonna say. I think with the Giants, you know your recipes now. We're gonna come in here and we're gonna put our foot on your throat for the entirety of the football game. Do something about it.
And take pride. They gotta take pride in that too. Just come out and smack someone.
And I think they're starting to do that. And that's the thing, right? This was the perfect game to to start to do it and then let a team that was better than you say, no, we're not letting this happen. But they didn't let that happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
They smacked him in the mouth early, and they kept doing it all game long, and they didn't care what happened.
Yep.
And I would say this, if you're the Seahawks, you need to really start to look at that offensive line. Russell Wilson has been sacked 40-plus times in 8 straight seasons. That's the longest in the Super Bowl era.
Yep.
40-plus sacks for 8 straight seasons.
You got to start dedicating first round.
He's not going to survive much longer.
You're going to get him hurt.
He's not going to survive, let alone play.
And once he gets hurt, there goes your team.
Exactly right. And that's the thing. He is the bread and butter of everything you do as a team. Period.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to protect him. You can't just depend on him running for his life. We've seen this since he went to the Super Bowl against the Patriots.
Yep.
He's running for his life every single game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things. You need to protect him, or he's not going to be around to protect much longer.
And I know this is going to sound weird. Russell's getting older.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's getting older. He's going to have to start sitting in the pocket. He's going to have to turn into a Drew Brees type.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
When he gets,
You got to turn into you got to sit in the pocket and work. You can't sit in the pocket and work if someone's blowing down your workstation every 5 seconds.
And I think the thing with Russell too, which is something that I kind of noticed, is when he gets hit in really weird, awkward ways.
Yeah.
You know,
He
he doesn't get hit and just land on his back or land on his
He
side.
goes flying.
He always ends up twisted or on top of somebody else, getting hit by another person.
And I think it comes out of that. He's not exactly the biggest guy in the world.
It's his size and his movement, right? So most quarterbacks, I think, like Aaron Rodgers, right? When he gets hit, someone lands on him, concern, breaks a collarbone. So when he gets hit hard, he breaks his collarbone. When Russell Wilson gets hit, he does fly in weird places, but I think it almost kind of works to his benefit because he's protecting the vitals. So it kind of works out a little bit.
guess so.
You don't want your quarterback getting hit at all.
Right.
So
He's got to get some of that Tom Brady pliability.
Yeah.
That's it. Pliability.
all right, let's hop over to Rams Cardinals. This is about as what you and I expected it to be.
Yep.
Cardinals are on the downturn. Rams are kind of roller coaster.
Yeah.
But today they showed up. And they showed up. Jared Goff took some criticism from his head coach earlier.
Yeah.
in the week.
I liked it. I thought it was good.
And he showed up, and he showed up well.
And that's the thing about the Rams that I think something like the Bucs don't have. The Bucs, Bruce Arians will call out Tom Brady in front of everyone. I think Sean McVay has that relationship with his players where he probably went to Jared Goff first. It was like, look, I'm about to call you out. Here's why. And they had that conversation and came to that understanding.
Right.
Whereas Bruce Arians type he'll never say anything. I think he's honestly scared to say something to Tom Brady's face, but then we'll go out and blast him in front of the media. And that's the difference between a coach who players like to play for and will lead a team to something great, and a coach who will be average because he doesn't connect with his players, and that's
true.
It's a great way to put it.
Yeah. You said it very well.
I couldn't agree more.
And I would just say this, the only thing that really stuck out to me, the game went how I expected it to. I think either Kyler Murray's getting figured out, or he's kind of hitting a mental roadblock or something. Because he just seems very average.
Yeah.
He seems very scared back there.
Mm-hmm.
And don't let the 3 touchdowns fool you. He threw for 173 yards total, with an interception on 39 attempts. That's really not that good.
I think they need to solidify their running back run game. They really don't have much going on back there. They have Kenyon Drake, they have Chase Edmonds, a few talented guys, but they're not really doing much. But at the end of the day, Kyler Murray needs to not fall into bad habits.
Yep.
Right? I think Kyler could be as good as Russell Wilson, where he has that type of talent to get out of the pocket, but he throws first. But I think he's starting to rely on his legs a little bit too much. And he's fast. He's really good, and he's fast, and he has good legs, and he has good talent, and all that good stuff that comes with being a multi-tool quarterback. But with great power comes great responsibility.
Sure.
You need to build better habits so that you aren't becoming too predictable, and so that you are thinking as a quarterback first. And I think that's where Lamar Jackson's getting in trouble this season. He knew he was so talented, and he knew his legs were such an asset. Now he's like, well, now I want to use them all the time. And the Ravens even said, well, now we want to use them all the time. and then you end up going for it on 4th down and 4 and running it up the middle as a QB draw.
Ugh.
So
It's brutal.
he needs to fix some of these bad habits that you tend to see that sometimes can win you football games, but a lot of times can lose you football games.
With Kyler Murray too, I don't want to rush to say like he's washed up.
No, of course not.
I think he's young. He's 23 years old.
Absolutely.
I think he's still learning very much as anyone else is. I mean, another guy who didn't really have mentorship coming out of college. He was thrown to the wolves right away. Said, "Look, man, we need you right now."
Mm-hmm.
And on a team that I'd say it's definitely gotten better from last year. You were like, the Cardinals are one of the worst teams in the league, and now you're like, the Cardinals could beat anyone in the league, realistically.
Absolutely.
So I think he's gonna continue to get better. I don't think he's one of those quarterbacks where you look at and say like, he's probably reached the peak and this is all we're gonna get from him. I think he's definitely on the upward trend and will continue to get better. So I don't think early on a lot of people I think thought like, wow, the Cardinals, like we could actually do something this year. I don't think this was ever the Cardinals year.
Sure.
I don't think it was, and I think they took a step in the right direction. You know, again, another thing, young head coach too. They took a step in the right direction. Everyone in that organization is learning.
Yep.
And I think they're going to only continue to improve in the future.
Agreed.
Yes, I agree. I think getting him a solid mentor to help him. We talked about him earlier this episode. Maybe bring in Philip Rivers. Complete antithesis of Kyler Murray. Get him to learn a different side of the position, right? Philip Rivers doesn't move. He just doesn't. He's a statue in the pocket, really. I wouldn't recommend learning his throwing motion. That's a business model. But I think learning how to be a quarterback as a quarterback is a very important thing that he's going to have to learn at some point throughout his career. And I agree, Billy. He is going to get better as he goes along with his career.
Both of these teams, though, I want to say this: both the Rams and the Cardinals. You never know which team you're going to get.
No.
And I'm not sold on the Rams 100%.
No, I agree.
Because they have played well as of late, but I feel like they could come out at any time and just lay an absolute egg. And like, you never know which team you're going to get from them. So, and when they're firing on all cylinders, it's dangerous for sure. But it's consistency that gets you through the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if they have that. So
definitely,
we'll have to see what happens.
And I'll say this: if you're an Arizona Cardinals fan, you look at that 3rd down conversion percentage, 33%. That's abysmal.
Yeah,
that's terrible. And you look at their TOP, 21 minutes of total offense compared to the Rams, 39 minutes of offense. The Rams almost doubled their TOP.
You're not going to win like that.
You're not winning a football game with that. Never.
Both of those stats, I think you can attribute to a poor running game.
And that's what I was going to say. I think it goes on.
They ran the ball 16 times.
Right, on 1st down, which is typically your running down, if you're not running the ball and you're throwing in a completion, that's just 2nd and 10. All of a sudden, now 2nd and 10, well, now we have to pass the ball. Now you're 3rd and 10 if you're throwing a completion. Now you're not going to convert on 3rd down. You're going to get 3rd.
Just run the ball on 1st down. Just do it. Like even if you get 2 yards, like it's still better than
something, right? And it sets a tone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Let's hop over to Packers, Eagles. This one went about as expected. Eagles' offense is bad. Their defense is okay. Aaron Rodgers is excellent.
Yeah.
And the Packers are excellent.
Yep.
Something to say about it, though, is that Jalen Hurts did get in the game.
Yes, that was it.
And he looked
good.
He looked okay.
Yes.
But he had some throws that were beautiful.
Yep.
Like some throws that we were watching and we were just like, we looked at each other like, wow, that was a good throw.
That one throw on the left sideline, like 4 plays into when he came in the game, that was nasty.
But then there were some throws where we were like, ooh, that wasn't a good throw.
Sure.
So it's
and you're going to see those from a guy getting thrown in in the 4th quarter.
And he is starting next week as well.
He is.
Yes, Doug Peterson came out today and said that. So he is starting next week. So
I think it was time. I don't think there was any other choice. I mean, how long do you sit around and twiddle your thumbs and say, yeah, we don't know if he's the future or not, but we're just going to let him do it anyway.
I think this is the point in the season where you say that. But what do you do going into the offseason as the Eagles? You're back. If Jalen Hurts starts, your backup quarterback is a $35 million cap hit on your cap.
Yeah.
Do you try and trade him? Do you?
I feel for Carson Wentz. I do. I think he's kind of getting a raw deal here.
I agree.
Because one, he has a lot of hurt weapons.
Yes.
And not a lot of weapons to begin with, and then a lot of those weapons are hurt.
Mm-hmm.
2, that line is atrocious.
So bad.
I've never seen someone look so scared playing quarterback than him back there, because he is just getting blasted play after play after play. There's no chance for him to do anything.
Yep.
So he has not played well. I can't defend that, but I can't blame him completely, because he's by himself out there.
I agree. And I said it a few weeks ago. I think it might have been last week. I think this season for Carson Wentz, you need to say, all right, forget about it for now. Once you get into the offseason, you say, all right, because they're not going to make the playoffs. Because now you got 2 teams that are killing it right now in that division. You say, forget about last season. You're our starting quarterback. Now, if you go into the next season and start sucking it up, now you're getting benched.
Exactly.
Now that's it. Because he really, last season, again, they were all very hurt. They still ended up making the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Now it's this year. They're still hurt. Their offensive line is bad. He's struggling. So this is really the first year that he's bad.
Yeah.
I say mulligan season.
I would agree.
I hates that.
I agree with you.
Where next season, if he's still bad, then you say, all right, Jalen Hurts going. But give him that chance next season.
And I have no problem playing Jalen Hurts now to see what you have. Figure out what you have.
Because Carson Wentz's season this year, forget it. I said, forget about it. It's not.
But I agree. You got to give him a chance again next year, I think.
Sure, you can give him a chance, but I don't think you call it a mulligan season. This is the NFL, guys. This isn't high school. It's one of those things where, you can't use uncontrollable things to create an excuse as to why somebody can or cannot play well.
You can if you're paying them $35 million a year.
Well, I mean, that's their fault. They did.
I know, but that's why I'm saying, if this was still his rookie contract, maybe you just don't extend it.
Yeah.
And maybe you say, all right, we're going to
do something. You're committed. You paid.
Right.
You paid the man.
This man.
You gotta at least see what you can do.
You gotta give him one more full season, or else ownership's gonna fire you.
Because my thing is,
Doug Peterson's in the hot seat right now.
This has been 3 years in a row where he's been, he's been on an injury-plagued team. Yes, absolutely. But there have been many teams that have been plague-ridden.
Right, but this is the
But the quarterback didn't get an out for his crappy-ass play because there was injuries. It's the NFL.
But this is the first season they're not making a playoff push.
Yeah, like last year.
Last year they made the playoffs because they're in the NFC least.
But that's not
literally.
He still did it.
He still did it.
Oh, he still did it.
Hey.
And what happened when he got there?
All right, they cracked the bed.
What'd you expect from the NFC least?
Exactly. The NFC was a great division last year, great conference last year, where pretty much from top down, every playoff team,
very competitive.
Other than the Eagles, were very competitive. Any one of them could have made it to the Super Bowl.
But I'll say this to close out. I agree with you in the sense of, obviously he needs to start next year. He has to, because number one, he's too big of a cap hit to not start. Mm-hmm. Period. End of story. Mm-hmm. You can't have a $35 million cap hit and not play that person.
Yeah.
You have to. So there's no other option. But I'll also say this: it's one of those things where, at some point in time, that $35 million cap hit, or the fact that he's supposed to be your transcendent quarterback, can't be a reason to keep him in the game and keep losing football games. At some point in time, you have to make a decision. Yeah, we need to cut ties and do something here.
Oh, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Not this offseason.
No, not this offseason. No, but if
next year, if next year
next year looks anything like this year, you have to start thinking.
We'll talk again. Sit down. Sports Edition, Week 8, 2021.
Yes, because again, you think about it. This is really, if you really cut it and you really look at it, it's been 4 years that it's been trending in this direction and just getting progressively worse each year.
That's fair.
So this has been a 4-year decline. I don't know what else you really need to see. I don't know.
Maybe a few solid receivers.
It's not a sharp. It's not
a good
like
offensive line, maybe.
Yeah.
Because you know what's going to happen? And I know we're talking about.
But I'll tell you what, you're not going to solve that in 1 year.
I understand that. Right, but you think you could maybe solve it in 4? Because you know what's going to happen is Carson Wentz is maybe going to fail next year, and then he's going to go to a different team with more talent, and he's going to excel.
He's going
to excel. He's going to have a career resurgence. And everyone in Philadelphia is going to be like, why did we get rid of Carson Wentz? Mm-hmm. Well, because you jumped the gun too much, because your team's...
I think his struggles are more to the team falling apart around him than him getting worse. I don't think he's necessarily gotten better.
Agreed.
I don't think he's gotten better.
No.
But I don't think he's gotten much worse. I think the team around him has fallen apart.
Agreed.
And we forget
Physically and just people leaving and things like that.
And we forget Philadelphia. Sure, they won a Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Don't remember.
3
They're
years.
not.
Whatever.
It's not a winning culture in Philly.
No.
That's not exactly like it's not Boston. It's not Denver. It's not San Francisco where these teams know how to win and they consistently kind of try to do that. At least with Denver when they have a quarterback. But God, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. Philly's not a great place to grow, really.
No.
And no one's really done it. Donovan McNabb came out firing when he was young. He only got worse. Kevin Kolb came out firing and only got worse. And now it's Carson Wentz. So, the team, it's not really it's city of brotherly love, ain't city of quarterbacks.
Definitely not.
Let's hop over to Broncos Chiefs. I'm mad about this. Want to know why I'm mad about this? Because it's so damn close. This is a 6-point game, right? End of the half, Broncos miss a field goal. Seahawks then go back to the opposite side of the field and score their field goal. That's the only reason the Chiefs won this game.
No. The reason why
I'm totally kidding.
The reason why the Chiefs won the football game is because your quarterback sucks. Drew Lock is awful.
Yeah, he's not.
He is a terrible quarterback. I'm sorry, but he is.
It's gonna get really mad here.
He is an awful quarterback.
He was waiting for this.
But yeah, I did actually. Bro, this is the same exact thing we talked about 3 weeks ago. A deep post to the middle, triple covered. He did it twice. Same exact thing.
Drive
what are you doing?
was awful.
Like, I would bet money that probably 70% of his interceptions are the same exact thing every single time. A deep post on seam into triple coverage, interception, and your wide receiver gets killed every time. Dude, stop dancing. Stop trying to shush the crowd. Play freaking quarterback, bro. Play and take off that visor. You're disrespecting people who wear visors. Take that shit off. This quarterback pisses me off so much.
The thing is too. That Broncos defense played out of their minds.
Yeah, they're good.
They're
good.
the definition of bend but don't break. Every single time the Chiefs marched right down the field, got to the red zone, and they could do nothing.
Yep.
And that was awesome to watch. And the Broncos came out on offense and looked okay. They were kind of getting it done. And then as soon as I saw him do the stupid thing where he was like this to the crowd or something, it was just like, oh, there he goes, getting cocky again. And the second Drew Lock gets cocky, that's when everything just goes right downhill for him.
I agree.
But you look at this. Look at this defense for Denver. They gave up 3 points in the first quarter. They gave up 6 points in the second quarter. So that's 2 more field goals. 3 field goals in a half. Against the Kansas City Chiefs. The best team in football, hands not even close.
And that last field goal was due to, again, a desperation field goal. End of the half, Brandon Graham just shanked one. Usually hits it.
They gave up 1 touchdown they gave up 1 touchdown the whole game.
Yep.
And they gave up another field goal in the third, and they gave up a field goal in the fourth.
Technically, they gave up 2 touchdowns, but it wasn't challenged.
Yeah, that was the weird. That was so weird.
Yeah. Listen,
Even Tyreek Hill was just like, I
don't
don't know, I caught it.
But dude, it's like when your defense plays that well, bro, come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
And it's been the Broncos' struggle for the past 5 years.
Yeah.
Ever since Peyton Manning retired. Even when we had Peyton Manning and we won that Super Bowl. We need a quarterback who can just be good enough. Be able to put up 24 points a game
I'm telling
will win.
You get a Ryan Tannehill. You get a game manager guy who's like,
give us Kirk Cousins, please.
Anyone.
I'll take Carson Wentz.
Anyone who doesn't go out there and not lose the football game for you. The Broncos are a good team.
Yeah.
They really are.
Yep.
But unfortunately, Drew Lock will go out there and lose the football game for you.
And we have such good talent too, and it bothers me because Cortland Sutton's obviously injured, so he's out. Obviously not an excuse. Tim Patrick,
looks great. Looks great.
Noah Fant, great.
Solid tight end. Jerry Jeudy,
excellent.
Yeah.
KJ Hamler, he's starting to look like a Tyreek Hill type.
Absolutely.
Watch out. They got him on a few sweeps. They got him on some deep balls. He's looking really good. That offensive line finally starting to look good. Garrett Bowles got his extension.
Melvin Gordon ran.
Ran roughshod.
Phil Lindsay did not run well.
No, but that's the great part about the Broncos' offense is that if one running back doesn't do well, the other running back can.
Yeah.
And they can kind of just make it work. But when you have a quarterback who just, for some reason, makes the same dumb mistake every single game, a quarterback who can't learn from their mistakes is a bad quarterback.
Yep.
And the mistakes are throwing deep posts. Stop calling the play.
Seriously.
Stop calling the play. Stop calling. If you're thinking about doing play action, don't just run the ball. And if you're thinking about just passing the ball, don't do a play action.
You heard the announcers all night, the whole time. They were just like, I don't know why they're not running the ball. I don't know why they're not running the ball.
Because it works so
because they were just running through that Kansas City defense.
Take some notes from the Titans, boys. If your running back is doing well, run it. Just do it. Keep feeding him the ball.
We were laughing at 8.5, 8.7, even more.
Yeah.
8.7 per carry.
It's ridiculous.
Like come on. Give him the football. You can't. Defense, excellent job. Special teams, missed a field goal. I'm a little upset about it because that was the 6-point swing, really. But at the end of the day, if the Chiefs were put in a position where they had to fight for, a drive or two,
they were going to beat you.
Exactly, they were pretty much sleeping through this game.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, we're gonna beat the Broncos. Also, divisional games, which, again, gonna be closer.
Yep.
Really disappointed to see the Broncos let that one slip though.
I don't think they let it slip. I just think Kansas City decided to keep it close. I really do. I did not one time in that whole game that I think Denver had any chance of winning. Not one time. It's not knocking on the team. I'm just saying Kansas City chooses to keep games close or not, and they chose to keep it close. They chose to give you guys a chance.
They did run some funky plays.
Yes,
they were trying some stuff. I think
did.
like what can we do here?
What can we get
against
away
a good
with?
team?
Yeah.
I believe the Chiefs also clinched the playoff spots.
Yep.
Yes.
The Chiefs clinched playoffs. Saints clinched playoffs. Talk about football team Steelers. This one happened last night. Oh my God! It was
What?
Friggin' awesome!
What just happened?
I love it.
So and we talked about this.
Whoa.
If it weren't for that last field goal the football team hit, we said it. This is gonna be a low-scoring football game.
Yep.
Those last few points, and they had to get that 20-point mark. But this was a defense-driven football game where whichever defense broke first loses. And it really didn't end up that way. It ended up more the football team's defense made a big play.
Yep.
On that last drive, Ben Roethlisberger tip drill pick.
That
It
pick
almost
was
looked like it was
crazy.
from Madden.
Yep.
Thing pops up in the air, and you're like, bro, this never happens in real life.
Right.
Oh, it does.
It happens.
And it makes the Steelers 11-1.
It was. I'll tell you what. Bro, Pittsburgh had so many drop footballs. They could not catch a pass last night. It was nuts to see. And I'll say this: that Washington football team defense is for real. For real. They're a top 5 defense in every single category you can think about. They're top 5 in everything.
Yep.
That is nuts. And me and Billy were kind of talking about this. I'm sure he's going to hit on it now. If Ron Rivera is not in conversation for Coach of the Year,
Should be.
I think I was talking to him about this earlier. I think if you look at everything that team has been through this year, 1, you got COVID. 2, all of the crazy stuff that happened with that before the season with the sexual violence allegations and all of that. It's like
Even the team name.
the team name change, him having cancer, all of these things just stacked against him, and they come out and they struggled at first, and that offense was lost. They didn't know who their quarterback was, and then you take a guy who can't even walk right and put him in at quarterback, and again, comeback player of the year automatically, in my opinion. Alex Smith, who is playing very well. Like, he's getting it done. And if they continue to be on this trend, watch out in the playoffs for the Washington football team.
I said that last week.
Watch out in the playoffs for the Washington football team. You do not want to play them.
If the Washington football team does in fact make the playoffs, which I believe the football team still has a game against the Giants,
They
at some point in this next stretch.
I believe so.
And that will determine who wins that.
I think so.
If the football team wins this division, honestly, either team, Giants or football team, whichever team wins that division, I think you're looking at a team who's going to shock whoever comes to their house for that playoff game.
Yeah. And I would say football team a little bit more than the Giants,
I
just
agree.
because I know I think they're a little bit better coached.
I agree.
Than the
And
Giants.
defensively, I think they're a lot stronger defensively as well.
And Alex Smith is playing better. He's getting more comfortable. Obviously, he's playing.
And he's only going to keep getting better.
Absolutely, and most teams haven't been able to say they put up 23 points against the Steelers.
Nope.
And the football team did this without Antonio Gibson for most of the game. He was out in the first quarter. I know this because I started him in fantasy.
I played against him in fantasy, and that's why I won, so I'll take it.
So they had their star running back out for pretty much the whole game.
Yep.
And still ended up winning this game, which, I mean, not really that big of a deal because the Steelers shut down the run anyway for most teams.
Yeah.
This is a great win for the football team. The Steelers, this was bound to happen at some point.
Yeah, and you hear conversations, was this good for them to lose or was this bad for them to lose? I personally think it was bad.
Yeah.
I personally think it was
not a
bad.
good loss.
I think this was not the game. If I'm the Steelers, I kind of wanted to lose a game because being undefeated is a lot of pressure.
Sure.
And you don't want that. But this was not the game to lose.
Exactly.
You have games against the Bills and the Colts coming up. One of those games, maybe, against a team that is
right. And it's
a bona fide good team.
And it's not the way to do it either.
No.
Right.
Like, to have your last drive and pretty much early on in that drive pick.
I think it was a second down play, and they
That's not the way you want to lose a football.
And that Steelers, we were talking about this earlier too. That Steelers offense, it
was sputtering.
It's just not. It's not as good as it should be. It really isn't.
You have Ben Roethlisberger, obviously veteran quarterback. You have, and we talked about it last week. Chase Claypool's your red zone threat. Deontay Johnson is your catch and run guy.
Yep.
And Juju Smith-Schuster is your consistent, reliable, middle of the field kind of guy who's going to make things happen. Even
and you had Eric Ebron as well.
Even James Washington's a speedy guy who's going to make some plays for you.
So they had
James Conner, running back.
So they had no running attack this game whatsoever.
That was the thing that lost
them
the
football. 21 yards, 14 rushes for 21 yards in the game.
Wow.
So that's not going to get it done.
And it was a low-scoring game, so it's not like they made up for it.
Not going to get it done. But my big problem, you just pointed out all those talents that they have. I think that one of their problems is, honestly, Ben Roethlisberger is good, very good, not good enough. I wouldn't put him in the Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees tier.
He's in more of Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning.
Exactly.
Kind of
And those are the guys who stand in the pocket, throw the ball, and pinpoint accuracy, put it where it needs to be, and succeed that way. And then you have the other side of guys. You have the Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilsons, another great tier of quarterbacks.
Playmakers.
Who are playmakers. They can stand in the pocket and throw the ball, but when they need to, they can get out of it. Ben Roethlisberger is kind of in the middle there. He throws the ball well, but not well enough. But he can't move at all, so he's not going to make a play for you. Exactly.
He used to be
back in his day.
That's when he was winning Super Bowls.
And now he can't. He's. I mean, you watch him walk out there, you think he's going to fall over. So it's like, I think that's where I'm worried about this team is that offense. I just don't know if they could get it done against a team that they're going to need to score against. They do have a great defense, which will help that, but if you can't put up points, you're not going to win.
So let me ask you guys: 20-17, you are inside the 30. Are you going for it on fourth down, like they did?
No.
Or are you kicking that field goal tying game?
I would go field goal.
I would kick the field goal.
Me too, and they didn't. They went for it on fourth down and failed.
Maybe if you're.
And that's Mike Tomlin.
I don't know.
Though. That's Mike Tomlin. He makes these. I feel like sometimes he looks at his play call sheet and they go, okay, well you could kick a field goal or you could go for it on fourth down. And I think he said, well, I'm Mike Tomlin. I'm going to go for it on fourth down. And I'm like, dude, I don't, and I know
I could never knock Mike Tomlin
hindsight's
as a
2020.
coach, though.
No, I don't think so either. But I think sometimes he gets a little too aggressive with his play calling. Just in these kind of nitty gritty scenarios. Very similar to like a Pete Carroll type who will do something where you're like, sure, what just happened here?
Yeah.
Not bad coach at all, but I think again, in hindsight, I think you got to, even when I saw they went for it on 4th down, I was like, really? I was like, no, you got to kick that field goal, tie the game, make them beat your defense. Because your defense is solid.
Which is the strong point of the team.
Tie football game, make them beat your defense. Because you score that field goal, you make them have to drive the whole field now.
Yeah.
But now you went for it on 4th down, you gave them more room to work.
Yep.
Alex Smith drove down the field and got an extra field goal and made basically the game unwinnable for him.
Yep.
I would agree with that. Yeah, you gotta, in that situation, tie the game. You have the best defense.
Right.
You know, Washington's defense is great. You have an even better. Your defense is ranked higher than Washington.
Right.
Like your defense is very good.
Yeah.
Let them make their stand.
Let's talk about the Bills, Niners. We both picked the Bills. This is about what we thought would happen. Sean McDermott, one of those good head coaches who's not going to let a guy like Nick Mullins beat him.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Josh Allen looked great.
Josh Allen looked great in prime time. Oh, God. He knows how to rise to the occasion and just make, again, one of those playmaker types where he could just make things happen. And it's so fun to watch because you just see him slinging the ball around the field. He's like a more talented Matt Stafford, that's the kind of quarterback I want personally.
Yeah, right.
The Bills performed well in every aspect of football. And the Niners are not a pushover team either.
No, not anymore. Not anymore. And I would say this, I think the thing that really kind of stuck out to me was, you know, I love the way Josh Allen played. I would love it more if I could see it more often, right? I don't want to feel like that's an anomaly to see him go, you know, 32 for 40, 375 and 4 touchdowns. I really feel like he could do that more often, but why he can't or why he doesn't, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, and obviously you're not going to have 8 incompletions the whole game all the time. That's not going to happen. But I think Josh Allen is very capable of putting up 350 yards plus. You saw it in the start of the season. You know, he was throwing for 300 plus yards the first 5 games he played. You know, if I can get that every game, I can run with that. I can rock with that. But I would say the Bills did what they were supposed to do. Honestly, they were supposed to win this game, and they did just that.
I think the Bills are very good at scheming towards teams, if that makes any sense. When they played the Seahawks, right? They knew the Seahawks' pass defense was atrocious. So what did they do? They barely ran the ball, and they passed the ball all game long. And, like, Josh Allen had a very similar stat line as to what he has here, except he had, like, 100 more yards.
Yep. Yep.
And then they kind of did the same thing against the Niners, where the Niners' strength is in that front 7, and the Bills' strength is not in their running backs.
Yep.
So they just slang the ball around the field and said, all right, stop us. Kind of the opposite of smash mouth football, where they said, we're going to air it out, see if you can knock it down and make a play.
They still kept them honest, which is good. I mean,
they still
Singletary had 18 carries.
Right.
Like, that's the thing. It's not, and he had 3.4 carry. That's fine. That's enough. Like, if you're going to throw like that, and they kept them honest, that's what you need to do.
Because at the end of the day, in this scenario, just handing it off is a good play call. Because now it's like, okay, well now we can't just
you got
we can't just run
the
nickel off the nickel defense out there where we have one linebacker. We can't do that. So
make some think. And
gotta do something.
Congratulations to the Bills for getting their first Monday Night Football win this century. It's been since 1999 before that. So.
Oh, gosh.
Hey, breaking new ground out here. Breaking new ground. Come on.
So progressive.
And the teams that are on buys this week were the Buccaneers and the Panthers.
Yes, and tonight, which we will not be able to cover, which I think it's pretty clear. I think the Ravens are going to win this game. But Ravens-Cowboys are playing tonight on Tuesday Night Football. Well, maybe we'll talk about it next week.
Just maybe.
Speaking of which, when they played on Wednesday last week, the Steelers and the Ravens. Steelers obviously took that one out last week. That was way too close.
Yes, it was. And I think, you know, if you want to look at precursors in terms of the Steelers, you know, that might have been a precursor in terms of what was to come against Washington. You know, it looked like they were just getting tired. It looked like they were getting tired of the pressure of trying to stay undefeated. It looked like they just weren't playing kind of their brand of football.
Maybe they'll play more loose now.
Maybe, or maybe it'll set them back. You know, maybe they're not scared of the loss anymore, so they're more willing to lose. Maybe it's that.
Could be.
We'll see. I'm very interested.
We'll see.
Very interested. But alrighty, y'all. That was it for the Sit Down Sports Edition.
A hefty boy.
That was
long one.
That was a chunker right there.
Can we split that one in 2 parts?
Oh no, it's full send. Full send. But alrighty, y'all, we're gonna come back at you with our pick'em for week 14, as well as we got a little special episode that we're gonna film next. So until next time, y'all, we'll see you later.